Country living sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But the truth is, there was always work to do at the farm, and daily chores were part of it. From October to May, chores took about 1 to 2 hours every morning and night, 7 days a week. Life at the Pope farm in the 60s was certainly no different. The animals that once lived here depended upon family members for their daily care. In the summer months, when the sheep and cattle were grazing out in the pasture, things were a bit easier. Each one was checked every day to make sure they were healthy and accounted for. Summer was the time to tackle the many outdoor projects like fencing, haying, gardening, and of course, getting the livestock ready to show at the fairs. This included filling the barn with hay and straw, a hot and sweaty but essential job. Like many farms, the Pope farm had a large garden. Food was canned to last through the winter months and was stored in the cool basement. In the fall and winter months, the cattle remained out in the fields, so the Pope family members took hay out to them every day with a tractor and wagon. When the snow got too deep, they got creative by using an old upside-down car hood loaded with hay and towed it out to the cattle by snowmobile. This farm was especially known for being home to a flock of sheep. Sheep farming had its own unique set of demands that included a lambing season and shearing sessions. The sheep mating season took place in the fall, and lambs were born in the spring, around 5 months later. As lambing season was about to begin, the mother sheep, called ewes, were taken down to the lower part of the barn. They were fed, watered, and bedded down with straw every day. They were carefully monitored day and night while waiting for the lambs to be born. Although there was no heat in the barn, the combination of the barn's thick walls and the body heat of the sheep created some warmth. Most ewes had twins, but there were singles and a few triplets. Once a lamb was born, iodine was put on its navel and it was provided some colostrum, or first milk, from its mother. Colostrum contains antibodies that protect newborns against disease. The ewe and lamb were housed in a pen of their own for a few days. After the ewe had recovered, she and her lambs joined the other ewes and lambs in a makeshift maternity ward. A highlight of springtime was opening the lower barn door to allow the lambs to graze outside for the first time. Imagine a lamb's sense of wonder, having never been outside before. Some were timid, unsure about leaving the only home they had ever known. But once they ventured into the pasture, they would frolic and run around, jumping and spinning. Their newfound joy had no bounds, and it was a delightful sight to see. Once the flock was outside, it was time to do some serious cleaning of the barn. After a long winter, it wasn't unusual to find 2 feet of manure. What a thankless job this was. Using a pitchfork, the manure was tossed onto the manure spreader. It was a real eye-burner to be down in the barn as the manure was pitched. The shearing process was like setting up a barber shop inside the barn each February or March. Shearing is the laborious process of cutting the wool off of the sheep, ideally right before they gave birth. Shearing helps the lambs nurse. Shearing was a family affair, and many in the family came home to help. It was hard physical work, as the sheep are sometimes not very cooperative, and the shearer has to be very precise while bending over for hours. If the shearing is done properly, the fleece should come off like one big blanket. When the shearing was completed, the wool was weighed and taken to Milwaukee to be sold. Ah, life on a farm. It meant hard work for every family member, a continuous cycle of life and death, endless chores and responsibility. But as anyone who has grown up on a farm will tell you, it's a lifestyle that creates a unique intimacy with nature and fosters a love of the land that lasts a lifetime.